Live your life as though your every act were to become a universal law. Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. Two things awe me most, the starry sky above me and the moral law within me. Experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is mere intellectual play. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. We can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. The virtue of a woman is a beautiful virtue, Kant wrote in 1764. That of the male sex ought to be a noble virtue. Women will avoid evil not because it is unjust, but because it is ugly. And they do something only because they love to, and the art lies in making sure that they love only what is good. In law, a man is guilty when he violates the rights of others. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so. Metaphysics is a dark ocean without shores or lighthouse, strewn with many a philosophic wreck. Immaturity is the incapacity to use one's intelligence without the guidance of another. What can I know? What ought I to do? What can I hope? Always recognize that human individuals are ends, and do not use them as means to your end. If man makes himself a worm, he must not complain when he is trodden on. Thoughts without content are empty, intuitions without concepts are blind. By a lie, a man annihilates his dignity as a man. It is not God's will merely that we should be happy, but that we should make ourselves happy. It is beyond a doubt that all our knowledge begins with experience. Act that your principle of action might safely be made a law for the whole world. Seek not the favor of the multitude, it is seldom got by honest and lawful means. But seek the testimony of few, and number not voices, but weigh them. Religion is the recognition of all our duties as divine commands. It is not God's will merely that we should be happy, but that we should make ourselves happy. Out of timber so crooked as that from which man is made, nothing entirely straight can be carved. All thought must, directly or indirectly, by way of certain characters, relate ultimately to intuitions, and therefore, with us, to sensibility, because in no other way can an object be given to us. Intuition and concepts constitute the elements of all our knowledge, so that neither concepts without an intuition in some way corresponding to them, nor intuition without concepts, can yield knowledge. A categorical imperative would be one which represented an action as objectively necessary in itself, without reference to any other purpose. The only objects of practical reason are therefore those of good and evil. For by the former is meant an object necessarily desired according to a principle of reason, by the latter one necessarily shunned, also according to a principle of reason. All the interests of my reason, speculative as well as practical, combine in the three following questions. 1. What can I know? 2. What ought I to do? 3. What may I hope? Even philosophers will praise war as ennobling mankind, forgetting the Greek who said, "War is bad in that it begets more evil than it kills." From such crooked wood as that which man is made of, nothing straight can be fashioned. Enlightenment is man's release from his self-incurred tutelage. Tutelage is man's inability to make use of his understanding without direction from another. Self-incurred is this tutelage, and its cause lies not in lack of reason but in lack of resolution and courage to use it without direction from another. Sapere Ode. Have courage to use your own reason. That is the motto of enlightenment. Two things fill the mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe, the more often and the more intensely the mind of thought is drawn to them, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe, the more often and steadily we reflect upon them, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me. I do not seek or conjecture either of them as if they were veiled obscurities or extravagances beyond the horizon of my vision. I see them before me and connect them immediately with the consciousness of my existence. Whereas the beautiful is limited, the sublime is limitless, so that the mind in the presence of the sublime, attempting to imagine what it cannot, has pain in the failure but pleasure in contemplating the immensity of the attempt. Laziness and cowardice are the reasons why so great a portion of mankind, after nature has long since discharged them from external direction, naturaliter meurens, nevertheless remains under lifelong tutelage, and why it is so easy for others to set themselves up as their guardians. It is so easy not to be of age. If I have a book which understands for me, a pastor who has a conscience for me, a physician who decides my diet, and so forth, I need not trouble myself. I need not think, if I can only pay, others will easily undertake the irksome work for me. That the step to competence is held to be very dangerous by the far greater portion of mankind. The light dove, in free flight cutting through the air the resistance of which it feels, could get the idea that it could do even better in airless space. Likewise, Plato abandoned the world of the senses because it posed so many hindrances for the understanding, and dared to go beyond it on the wings of the ideas, in the empty space of pure understanding. As nature has uncovered from under this hard shell the seed for which she most tenderly cares, the propensity and vocation to free thinking, this gradually works back upon the character of the people, who thereby gradually become capable of managing freedom. Finally, it affects the principles of government, which finds it to its advantage to treat men, who are now more than machines, in accordance with their dignity. Marriage is the union of two people of different sexes with a view to the mutual possession of each other's sexual attributes for the duration of their lives. A good will is good not because of what it affects, or accomplishes, not because of its fitness to attain some intended end, but good just by its willing, i.e. in itself, and, considered by itself, it is to be esteemed beyond compare much higher than anything that could ever be brought about by it in favor of some inclinations, and indeed, if you will, the sum of all inclinations. Even if by some particular disfavor of fate, or by the scanty endowment of a stepmotherly nature, this will should entirely lack the capacity to carry through its purpose, if despite its greatest striving it should still accomplish nothing, and only the good will were to remain, not of course, as a mere wish, but as the summoning of all means that are within our control, then, like a jewel, it would still shine by itself, as something that has full worth in itself. It was the duty of philosophy to destroy the illusions which had their origin in misconceptions, whatever darling hopes and valued expectations may be ruined by its explanations. In the kingdom of ends everything has either a price or a dignity. What has a price can be replaced by something else as its equivalent. What on the other hand is raised above all price and therefore admits of no equivalent has a dignity.